And we're going to be turning our attention to one of the most devastating events to shake Australia in years, a mass shooting at Bondi Beach out in Sydney, Australia, that has left 16 people dead and dozens more wounded. This was during a Hanukkah celebration on Sunday night. Police are treating the incident as a terrorist attack driven by anti Semitism, with authorities saying the alleged shooters were a father and a son armed with multiple guns and improvised explosive devices. And among the victims were community leaders, families, and children. The tragedy has sent shockwaves through Sydney and across the world, prompting calls for unity, justice, and a harder look at how such violence can be prevented. And joining us now from Sydney is Kayser Trad, founder of the Islamic Friendship Association of Australia, and he'll be helping us to discuss the Muslim community's response, some of the efforts at solidarity, and just the broader implications for social cohesion. Kaiser, thank you so much for speaking to us. Welcome to News and Views. Really appreciate you giving us your time. Salam.
Assalamu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Always happy to help. Unfortunately, it's under tragic circumstances, something that nobody was expecting, especially as guns are not freely or readily available in Australia. To get a gun, one must be licensed, and there are very, very strict conditions. And to get one on the black market is extremely, extremely expensive. So it's certainly not within reach of the average person. This is something that people are still struggling to understand. How did these people get their hands on these long arms, as they were described by the police, rifles, and how they were able to take them to that location and shoot people. And considering that in recent months, the Australian government had given a $35 million security grant to the Jewish community, and the Australian Jewish Association leader came out yesterday and said that this attack was foreseeable. So given these circumstances, I just don't understand how two people can go to Bondi and do this in broad daylight, bearing in mind that even though I'm a Sydney sider, I didn't know that there were Hanukkah celebrations on the beach. I didn't know that there were any of that was happening. Most people would not know unless you're a local. And the two shooters were not locals. They're from the west of Sydney, and it's a long drive from there to Bondi Beach. It takes at least an hour driving. So how did they know? How did they manage to get there with guns? How did they manage to shoot people? And alhamdulillah that a Muslim bystander risked his safety to come and stop one of the gunmen, and he ended up getting shot in the process. Amongst the people who were shot and wounded were Muslims as well. There was one Muslim lady. We're still unsure about her present condition. It just seems that the shooters were indiscriminate in their shooting spree, and I don't know whether they knew that there were Hanukkah celebrations. I don't know what they know or what they knew. Apparently, one of them is in critical condition, and the other one's been killed. So until the police are able to further investigate and give us more information, there'll be a lot of questions unanswered. But having said that, of course, our hearts are with the victims. We completely sympathize with them, and we give our condolences to all those who have lost loved ones. And if there's anything we can do to help, the entire community has reached out to see what level of support we can give. But that does not stop us from asking pertinent questions. How did this happen? How can this happen in Australia? Mass shootings are not something that can happen in Australia because of the difficulty in procuring deadly arms.
Most definitely. I want to touch on something which is very, very important. We're living in very, very charged times, charged moments, and extremist acts like this one can unjustly, shape perceptions of entire communities. How are you addressing any misconceptions linking this violence to Islam and the Muslim community of Sydney?
The Muslim leaders have come out, including myself. We came out very quick to condemn the attack, to extend our support to the victims, regardless of their faith or background. And we stand in solidarity with the victims. We want to keep every part of Australia safe. And what was very disconcerting for us is that it didn't take long for political opportunists to take advantage of
Mm,
this and come out pointing the finger of blame. Of course, they don't praise the Muslim who risked his life to stop one of the shooters and got shot in the process. They don't point out that some of the victims were also Muslims, that these shooters. We don't know their motivation. I mean, these people may have been crazy. They may have been. We don't know what was going on through their head. Could be anything. Um, we don't know what led to this, but there's a consistent pattern that usually, if they're Muslim or of a Muslim background, they're immediately labelled terrorists, and if they're not, then there's consideration for their mental state. We don't know what was wrong with these people. A father-son team. The son information that's coming out about him so far is that he was a person who would least likely to be suspected of committing acts of violence. Was it the influence of his father? Was it the influence of some substances? Was it something else? We don't know. We absolutely do not know. Instead of spending this time for healing and supporting each other, people are quick to point the finger of blame, and as if they want to create more victims of this tragic shooting. Rather than healing the victims, they want these political opportunists want to create more victims, and that is a crime in itself.
mm, just generally, let's talk about the interfaith cohesion in Sydney, in Australia, between Muslims, between the Jewish community, for the rest of the world, who might be seeing this and having other ideas. Generally, how was the sense of cohesion between people of different faiths in Sydney before this moment?
Look, there's been many efforts over the decades to bring different faith groups together, and different faith communities have stood together in the face of many tragedies in the past, and they are standing together. We are standing together in the face of this tragedy as well. There is no question that certain pro-Israel groups were rife in creating support for their cause, and naturally antagonism for the Palestinian cause in the last couple of years. But notwithstanding that, there's been many Jewish groups who reached out and who stood in solidarity with with Australian Palestinians and with Palestinians inside Gaza, and outrightly condemned the genocide that was perpetrated by the State of Israel. I personally had interviewed on webinars a professor of Jewish background about what was happening in Gaza. So the divisive situation in Gaza had split the Jewish community, and the fact that there were many fair-minded Jews standing with the Palestinian community and with Australian Muslims and with fair-minded Australians of all background shows that the general public understand that what's happening in Palestine is not a Jewish-Muslim issue, that
Mm,
it is a political issue relating to international geopolitics and grab for land, etc. Not a religious issue, and anybody who tries to link that to what happened yesterday would be someone who did not understand the dynamics or the relationships between the two communities. So it's not. I don't believe it's related to what happened in Gaza. I don't believe that well, we all know, all the viewers know that this is nothing to do with Islam, that it
Mm,
cannot be condoned by any stretch of the imagination. It's a very, very unfortunate tragedy. It's a criminal. It's a collection of criminal acts, and the perpetrators so far appear to have been acting on their own. If the authorities do find links to anybody else, then I hope that they quickly prosecute whoever's behind this. We certainly don't want to see a repeat of this, and one life lost through crime is one life too many. We want to protect life. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, whoever saves a life, it's as if that person has saved the entirety of humanity. So
mm,
that's what we strive to do, save lives, just like that Muslim hero, Brother Ahmed al-Ahmed did. He risked his own life to grab the one of the gunmen and take his rifle away from him and chase him away, and then he threw one of his shoes at him. Then of course he got shot and he's being treated in hospital. He's a father of two, 43 years of age, a greengrocer, runs a fruit shop, and um, now he's paying the price for heroism, for saving lives. And yet still political opportunists try to blame this on immigration. They try to blame this on Islam and Muslims, and there's never a shortage of elements within the lowest common denominator in society who run on this. One of the flyers that we saw today is a call for an attack on people of a Muslim background or a Middle
mm,
Eastern background. And you know, this year is the 20th anniversary of the Cronulla riots, and I don't know if all the viewers are familiar with the Cronulla riots. They were spurred on by the media, certain elements of tabloid journalism, after some dog whistling from politicians, and thousands of people flocked to Cronulla Beach back in 2005, December 2005, and they beat up on anybody who looked like he or she could be from the Middle East. And that led to a backlash and a fair bit of fighting, and a lot of work from the community, weeks and months of work to try to restore harmony. And yet, some evil elements within society want to bring that back. So we're working
mm,
as much as we can. We're reaching out as much as we can to make sure that that does not happen. That we put matters into perspective, and that people know that we're reaching out with love and support to all the victims and their families, regardless of their background. This is something that we do not condone, we do not accept, and uh, we would do anything to stop from recurring any time in the future. But I know that now a lot of mosques are on high alert, and they are ramping up security, and some people are calling me with fears of a Christchurch type backlash, and you know, a lot of people are concerned. Muslim women have already been targeted by race motivated attacks, and many of us are telling our children not to venture outside our areas, and we're on high alert at the moment.
mm, mm. I want to focus on exactly that, because I feel it's a very, very important point and aspect of the whole discourse. The fear of a retaliation of some sort by other extremist members of the Jewish community. Are there any measures that have been put into place to make sure that that doesn't happen? As you mentioned, it's a genuine fear amongst some of the Muslims.
Look, there are some things that I really wish I did not I did not have to say. But in last year, I think it was, the Australian government appointed an envoy for anti-Semitism, against anti-Semitism, and months later they appointed an envoy for anti-Islamophobia. And what was discovered later on was that there was a family organization, a family charity that was run by the husband of the envoy against anti-Semitism, that actually given $50,000 grant to right-wing extremists, people who actually are anti-immigration, anti-Muslim, and anti-Semitic by nature. They were funding them. The husband of the envoy was funding them, and then, of course, the minister swept it under the carpet and said we can't blame a woman for the actions of her husband. And right-wing extremism has risen in Australia, and it is brazen, it's flagrant, it's in your face. They go out on protests, they stand in front of public monuments such as the Parliament House and other places, and they dress in what appears to be a uniform. And there is a concern that there will be some clashes with these people, something that we are trying to stop, try to avoid at all costs. Um, Something else that happened since yesterday was Muslim graves were desecrated with parts of pigs. Somebody had taken pig meat and pig heads and pig other parts of the pigs, and they've placed them on Muslim graves in one of the suburbs of Sydney, of outer metropolitan Sydney. So some backlash is happening, and these types of things don't help. But um, they do make us more cautious. They do make us more alert and more aware, and they do make us realize that we're going to go through a period where we will need to ramp up our security and make sure that we protect, especially the members of our community. This is the summer season in Australia, and um, the days are getting hotter and hotter, and people want to go to the beach and they want to get into the water, and most of the beaches are going to be no-go zones for Muslims for the next couple of months until calm is restored and some aspects of social harmony are restored as well. But it's going to be a lot of work for the community, a lot of work for the authorities as well. We will need a lot of support from the authorities to overcome this. This is the biggest shock since 1996 and the Port Arthur massacre for Australia. It's the biggest mass shooting since the Port Arthur massacre, and that led to the disarmament of the Australian public. Now, what's the government likely to do now? If you need very, very strict to meet very strict requirements to be able to own a firearm, they might make those stricter. One report I read today is that they believe that that the shooters were part of an ISIS cell, and that maybe one of them was known to the authorities. Well, the question begs itself: is that why were they licensed, or one of them licensed, to have a firearm if they were suspected? So we need the authorities to answer all these questions and answer them in a convincing manner. Hopefully, a manner that will restore public cohesion and perhaps heal some of the wounds that have been cut deep as a result of this horrific tragedy.
No, most definitely. Kayser Trad coming to us live from Sydney. Thank you so much for chatting to us. Really appreciate you giving us your time.
Thank you. My pleasure.
There we go. Come to the end of that conversation. But yeah, if you just joined us, I think it's a very, very concerning state of affairs out in Australia. There was I think it's all over social media now. The Bondi beach attack. There's been, yeah, I think. My question is the conversation around gun laws. How important is that going to be, instead of the government and the right wingers calling this something that we all know what they're going to frame it and call it. We know that Australia has one of the most tight and most stringent gun laws. It includes limits to the number of firearms that an individual can own, and there's regular license reviews. This is obviously given, the history of Port Arthur back in 1996. Uh, but the question is, why haven't these laws prevented a terror attack like this? And what changes should be made that are both necessary and realistic to protect communities going forward? And as Arthur said, there's going to be a lot of work that's going to be needed when it comes to having those concrete steps, when it comes to interfaith groups and building those bridges and to counter the fear and division that such acts of terror aim to create. And it can spiral out of hand very, very quickly. And it'll be interesting to see, how does Australia, both the Jewish community, the Muslim community, the Christian community, the government, relevant authorities, and the religious leaders almost deal with this? It's going to be a very, very testing time, looking ahead, and I think the whole world needs to watch closely, and to support where we can, because it can easily spiral out of hand. It can turn ugly. You heard there from Kayser that there are already fears of retaliatory kind of attacks against the Muslim community, and it's very, very concerning. It's very, very concerning. You can engage with us on our various social media pages. You can comment. You can tell us what are your thoughts about this terror attack out in Bondi Beach in Australia. What do you think the government needs to do? What kind of messaging do you think Muslim leaders in particular need to be sending out in a time like this? And just your reaction to it. We are live on our various social media pages. You can also give us a call. Our studio line is 011 6800355. You can send us a message on WhatsApp on 061 766 0355. We're going to take a quick break. News and views will continue after this.